Hi, I'm Tarina Lee. Welcome to MGig. On this show, we will talk to Rosemary Walton from Triple M, Jen and Marty from local band Riff Raiders, and Matt Ryan will join me later. Peter Bain-Hogg, producer of RocKwiz, will be our feature story. Rosemary Walton from Triple M spoke to our producer earlier about how commercial radio is handling the pandemic.
Welcome to MGig, Rosemary.
Thanks, Simon. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
You surviving the pandemic?
A few COVID kilos, but that's okay. I can get rid of those, hopefully.
How's this coronavirus affected commercial radio, do you think?
In a few different ways. From being an employed person, we've all had to take some leave, we've had to take an income reduction, things like that. But as far as on-air content goes, initially broadcasting for a longer time each day, there was so much information that we had to get across. So we did an extra hour a day. So we'd have to take the premiers, conferences, federal conferences, just getting that information out. So we really turned from a music, sport, comedy focus into a news focus. We're taking a lot of calls from very concerned people, unclear about their future. We needed to be a place for people to come and feel a bit calmer about what was happening. It was pretty much panic stations early on. We will often have bands that are touring come on. Obviously that all stopped. From a revenue point of view, there's a lot of things that just weren't happening anymore. So advertising budgets were reduced, which then affects the station as an overall. But you know, if your business isn't doing anything, like you don't have anything to advertise either, so it's just this sort of cycle. As far as acts go, we've had quite a few. We usually have a lot of bands that come in to perform live in our studios. That had to stop because no one was coming in. Very few people were in the building, so it was kind of nice that a few of the artists were able to record things for us from home and send that in and have that live from what we call Eddie's desk usually, but we changed that to live from Eddie's desktop. So Paul Dempsey from Something for Kate, he did a special version of their new song Situation Room, which was just really special, and he was also involved in a Zoom for the station as a whole. So whereas we would have him perform for us, just for us in the studio, we were able to have it on Zoom, so quite a select few members of our Triple M families, we like to call them, were able to be a part of that. So there's a new way of reaching out to our audience that we hadn't sort of seen before, which has been a nice benefit of this.
The community radio stations, they do a lot of local stuff and they have local bands in there. They've had to cancel all that as well because they couldn't have people in the
broadcast space.
In the space. So how has that also affected you?
Yeah, so we've done a few Zoom broadcasts with, we've had an international act in Rob Thomas, Paul Dempsey, who I mentioned before, and in some ways we've been able to do more with our audience with that to make it feel a bit more inclusive. I feel like about a few times a year we'd have set gigs for the listeners to come in, or we'd go to a venue and do that. But it's been pretty special to be on a video chat with, you know, one of your favourite artists of all time. So I feel like in some ways we've been able to tap into something pretty special, and hopefully that can continue when we become normal again, whatever that is.
And becoming normal again. Do you think radio will change after this?
As far as broadcasting goes, probably. We'll see the ability for people to be broadcasting from remote locations, which we've done in the past, but the technology just seems to be so much better now. I know we had some studio changes for how we put the show out with the panel and with our phone system, which is probably a conversation for another chat show. But technically, it's a lot easier for us to have different people in different areas. We're even broadcasting people through Zoom or through Skype, whereas before it would literally have to be proper broadcast equipment. Our main broadcasters, of course, have their technical setups in their locations, but I think people are more open to being available at their house now. So I think as far as interviews go, whereas before there'd be a set schedule of, oh, you can only talk to this person on this day or this particular week, I think people are sort of going, oh, if I can do it from home, then perhaps I'd be more willing to participate in a broadcast. You know, don't have to come in.
But you do like to
stay
have...
in jammies.
Yeah. You do like to have overseas guests at the studio and things like that.
Oh, yeah. And I think the shows are better when you're all together. But as a workaround, it's been a lot better than we all imagined it would have been from at the beginning.
Has the station been tempted to concentrate more on local musicians?
I know our show has. I think with our music format, we've been pretty lucky generally anyway, because with the quotas that are talked about so much, and should it be 25%, how much do you play, do you actually reach the targets that you're supposed to? I know that Triple M, that we are in the fortunate position that our music format allows us to do pretty well. I think we should be doing better, but who doesn't always think that they should be doing better? I think we play a lot of Australian stuff, whether that be Hoodoo Gurus, AC/DC, Skyhooks we even played this morning. But as far as smaller local bands, I think we could always probably be doing better. We've got Australian music shows. I know that in our show, when we do gig guides or we try and talk about local events, I do try and put preference on the smaller bands that don't get airplay, but try and at least reflect that they've got gigs coming up or an album launch or whatever.
Are you looking forward to the other side when everything does become normal?
Yeah, of course, I love going to see bands play. I just worry that it can all be sustained, like the amount of people to sustain a venue will be accepted and will be fine, and that people will go back. And I think it's just a strange model that we have where we don't seem to want to pay to go and see bands unless they're big international acts. So I think we're all in for a big shock, and I think there's going to have to be some changes to make everything more sustainable for venue owners, artists, merch people who work behind the bar. I think I would always like to do better, and I hope that everybody else would like to do better and make sure that we can all enjoy what we've been very lucky to have so far.
Yeah, I've heard the model should change because, when you think about it, artists or bands like your partner, they go to a pub or something and they get paid $100. People were being paid $100 in 1979.
I know. Absolutely nothing's changed. I've seen posters of like worksheets, and literally nothing's changed. The cost of printing was the same. Petrol was cheaper, but that doesn't mean anything now. But and musicians just want to play, and I think that's part of the problem too, is that they'll literally just stand on a street corner and play for nothing because they just love it, and I get that, and we all do things that we love for free, but I just think we need to be able to put a bit more of a value on it and just be better.
If you took away the musicians, what would happen to the music industry?
Full of wankers.
Thanks very much, Rosemary.
Okay.
Riff Raiders is a local band that has been bringing the sounds of rock and roll to St Kilda since 2015. They were very busy just before lockdown. I've got Jen and Marty from the Riff Raiders via Zoom. How you going, guys?
Hello, we're good.
Good. I just want to have a little chat about what you guys were up to with the band just before lockdown. You're busy. You're working on releasing another album, Rock and Roll Daydream, and you're in the midst of promoting that and touring. You want to give us a little idea of what you guys were up to?
Yeah, well, it was mid-February we released the first single with the double A side of Loaded Garden Best Day Ever, and we're touring on the back of that and leading up to the album release, which was due to release sort of towards the end of March. And we ended up delaying that by a week with just not knowing. Obviously, there was a lot of uncertainty at the time, a bit of an overused word, but it was, we didn't know if people would have jobs or really it was kind of like a bit awkward to know whether it was appropriate to be releasing an album or be excited about new music going out there when people were potentially having a really tough time. So we made the call to just to delay it by a week, and obviously the rest of the tour that we were on at the time, we had to cancel a whole bunch of dates, including our album launch in our hometown and in Sydney. Our last show was early March in Canberra, and we hadn't seen the other band members for 4 months up until just the other day when we had our first rehearsal.
Yeah, wow. 4 months is a long time.
Yes, it felt like forever.
Yeah. And what else have you guys sort of been up to?
I've been writing some new songs for our next record, and I think Jenna would agree something exciting happened because we pushed on and released our record. It's actually got really, really surprisingly big and exciting reviews overseas.
Yeah, awesome.
The UK's really got on top of it, and it's way more reviews than we got for our first album. And we even cracked, I could say, I suppose, a 10 out of 10 in a magazine just last week. And they even contacted us and said, this never happens. They're pretty grumpy old reviewers in this magazine. This Power Play. So it's sort of hit a chord over there, and they all say the same thing. It's a really good record, happy rock, vibrant in this sort of times. So it was probably a good idea for us to keep pushing on.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think being able to reach that audience, do you think lockdown has helped a little bit with that? Because there's like a lot more people at home, a lot more people are trying to find new music.
Yeah.
Do you think that's definitely? Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And look, we because we play hard rock sort of style, and we do play modern rock, as you know, but there is a mix. So the older crowd don't always get on the digital platforms. So that, I think, has improved a lot for us, which is great. But they're all asking for CDs and vinyl as well, which has been exciting but also challenging, because I don't know if you've seen how much it costs to post something overseas at the moment.
Yeah. And that's if it gets there within the month.
It's been crazy.
Yeah. That's awesome, though, that you guys have been able to do that during lockdown.
Yeah, it does seem that we are more discoverable in that respect, sure.
Yeah. And what are your views on these live streaming performances that are happening at the moment? We've got all these platforms popping up everywhere where you can, donate to artists that are performing live. Do you have an opinion on that?
Personally, I think some are better than others, and I think that there's a real risk, not that I've seen evidence of this really, but there's a real risk of damaging everything you've built up in terms of the live shows that we would always give. We always have a lot of other people working behind the scenes in terms of sound and lighting and that sort of thing, and not having them involved is something that we are not 100% comfortable with. And also, more people playing acoustic guitars in their lounge room aren't needed at this point in time. To start off with, cool, that's great. And if people are obviously keeping relevant and keeping on top of their chops and all that sort of thing, we're lucky that we have got the recorded stuff and having a new album and having video clips that are relatively new and fresh, that they are giving us the content that people want. But the live streamed concerts are getting a lot better. The things that people are doing at venues with light shows and potentially having better sound quality and that sort of thing is some of those have been amazing.
Yeah, and those ones at the venues as well, like you said, the sound engineers get involved on that. You got people doing lighting and all that as well. So it is important, definitely. Yeah. And sort of, how do you guys see post-corona looking? I know it's like you said, that oversaid word, uncertainty. A lot of people don't really know at this point. Like, we thought we were. So you've just seen the band as well, like I said, after 4 months, and now there's this risk of having a second lockdown at the moment. Yeah. Considering Victoria's not travelling too great.
That's it.
But how do you have an idea of how you sort of see with these new streaming platforms and I
think that particularly the sort of music that we play, being loud rock, it's not really something you want to do in a closed room. I mean, it's not something that we're closed ourselves to either, but we're planning to be able to play live again at some point. Yeah, that's something that is really important to keeping us going as a unit. Trying out new songs and getting things kind of road tested, as it were. That's really important. I think we'll have some kind of semblance of that, and we're working towards a future of that. Obviously, I think things are really never going to be the same again.
Yeah.
Of course, there's venues that haven't survived because they could, if it's going to be another 4, 5, 6 months, then
We're going to lose a lot of them.
Yeah, it's going to look a lot different. The scene that we're really, really lucky to have here in Melbourne is not going to be the same scene in 2021 as it was in 2019.
I think a lot of elements it's not going to look like what it did beforehand, just in general. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of unknowns at this point.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think it needs to, it will cause innovation though, and it already has. That if there's another year or two of this, who knows? People want entertainment, don't they? So there has been some great examples, and not rock and roll's one thing, but other forms of music can present all sorts of entertainment. Our kids see major artists do it through the PlayStation games. They have these events.
Yeah.
These are animated characters that come out and mime a song, and the whole world, it's only for like 5 minutes and they're all over it. Powderfinger did a fantastic stream, which they recorded and then didn't do it live, but they remixed it and presented it in a really strong way. And as you know, they got a huge audience.
Yeah.
Raised a lot of money. So I think we even went to a Leno and Woodley concert the other week on a Zoom thing.
Yeah.
And it was very cheap and
so good.
really entertaining and funny. You
Yeah.
know. They were actually in the same room, and like how we are now, they were pretending to put their hand over to the other side, and I'd be touching your head now, and that sort of thing. So,
it's a bit of fun.
I think some artists will take this situation and use it to their advantage.
Yeah. So what's in the future for the Riff Raiders?
Well, we're actually putting together what will be the final video for the Rock and Roll Daydream album, a fifth song called Stepping on a Cloud. We've been working with Richard De Silva on a video and going to shoot that in the next couple of weeks. So that should be out by the end of July, hopefully. So that's something we're looking forward to at the moment.
That'll keep you
Did you
busy.
hear him sing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
that'll be interesting.
Yeah. That's
And
right.
can you tell us a little bit about the film clip, or is it a bit of a, surprise?
No, it's we've done the miming to the song sort of thing in a few scenarios and a bit of role play in the videos. This one's going to be, it's not a pop song, but we're going to try a bit more of a pop video, so it'll be more artistic.
Yeah.
Arty farty.
Yeah,
Arty farty.
Yeah.
Yeah, the video is going to be projected onto us,
Okay.
and we're going to be like the screen, if you like. So there's a bit of that going on.
Yeah, cool.
So,
Sounds
If
interesting.
it doesn't work, then you can delete this.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Yes. Thanks for having us.
It's good to put a face to a name as well. Like I've seen some of your photos, but it's good
I was going to wear my best pajamas, but they're in the wash.
Oh, it's okay. Next time. And good luck with the film clip. Can't wait to see it.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Born in New Zealand, Peter Bain-Hogg today works in film and television production and is well known for producing RocKwiz. Peter has had a great deal of experience in the media industry. He spent time in radio and live television. His career took a different turn in Australia when he joined the music industry and spent time working for promoters such as Bruce Cockburn, Glenn Wheatley and Michael Gudinski.
Welcome to the Alex Theatre, Peter.
Thank you very much. It's
The
a beautiful
new home
place.
of Alex Rocks and live music. But I want to hear more about you. So, we've been working together for a few years now on different projects.
Yeah.
So how did you actually, get involved in this wonderful industry that we
Well, right from when I was a kid, I always liked music. Who doesn't? But I was one of those kids that was, organising church dances and school dances and all that kind of stuff.
So where was your first dance?
A long time ago, in New Zealand. Let's just say in New Zealand. And then I left school and I went into broadcasting, into the NZBC, and within about 6 months ended up in a TV studio. And the first TV studio that I walked into, there was my favourite band, The Secrets R&B, recording some songs, shooting some songs which were being filmed as interludes, because at that stage TV shows were 50 minutes long, so they had to have something to fill up the half hour because it was non-commercial TV. So they made these interludes and made them with local bands, which was extraordinary given it was 1969.
Wow.
And so I've been in and out of TV studios ever since. And I spent 10 years in New Zealand making music shows and making all kinds of TV shows.
So when did you come to Australia?
1980.
And then, so what happened? So you've had this success in New Zealand that you're quite proud of, and you come to Australia. What happened then?
I started working for a guy called Barry Coburn, who was a tour promoter, and he also owned a recording studio and a publishing company and an agency, and he just needed somebody else to help him out, basically. He was trying to do everything himself. So I was learning rapidly. I knew Barry because he was ex-Christchurch as well, and I used to buy records from him when he ran the World Record Club. Cool. But he wanted to get into tour promotion, so the first tour that we did was Boomtown Rats, 81, and then did Roxy Music and a few others, and then he decided that his kind of background in the company was really in looking after country artists. So I was booking a lot of kind of country artists into country gigs, and then he went off to Nashville to run his publishing company there, and he's been there ever since. And I started then working making clips for various people, and then worked for Michael Gudinski for a couple of years, running his film and TV production division, doing night moves and studio video show and various things like that.
So a pretty extensive resume you've got.
Oh, I've been around.
And then you got to RocKwiz.
Yeah, well,
which is what people kind of know you for.
Yeah, I guess so. That happened in 2000. I was actually in LA, and Ken Connor was there, and we ran into each other and started, talking about what else was happening back in Australia and what could be done. And he said, "Oh, you should come and work for us. We need somebody to help us develop. We want to go from being a commercial production company making nothing but TVCs to making TV programs." So, on about day 3, we said, he said, what about a music trivia show? And I went,
who doesn't love music trivia?
Who doesn't love music trivia? Who doesn't love pub trivia? So we've got to do it at the Espy if we're going to do that. And we should do it with Brian Nankervis, and I'd known Brian for a long time, through The Last Laugh and through working with him through Artist Services, because I worked for a long time on Tonight Live with Steve Vizard for a few years, and so I knew, and Jamon and various other things. So I knew Brian, and I knew how good he was at music trivia, and he was great on the radio. So it just went, it'd be perfect. So started off RocKwiz, and that was 15 years ago, 2005.
Yeah, and still it's a great show, and sorely missed. And it's something I'd like to kind of talk about a bit now. Is when I grew up, I grew up watching Night Moves and Countdown and all these other great shows, RocKwiz, all these things. There's nothing I really like watching music television-wise anymore, to be honest.
There's nothing. I mean, the shows that you mentioned, that was at a time when television was driven by the 3 commercial channels, and SBS and the ABC, and that was all you could watch. And now we've got a multitude of choices through YouTube and Facebook and various other things. So it's kind of flattened the landscape and broadened it right out, rather than having 3 or 4 shows that you could see. So I don't think there's anything that's really out there that I think people can go and find things, but there's nothing that's a curated vision of this is what I think is a great thing. We've got no Molly.
Which.
And I think we sadly miss somebody telling us what to listen to and what to watch.
So with young bands, or even as well-established bands, promoting their product during COVID, obviously the touring circuit's kind of gone. And there's no music shows, and we've got a lack of community television or any, obviously the majors aren't particularly interested in putting on a decent music show. What do you how do you see this coming together in the future?
Well, it's interesting. During COVID, there's been a lot of pivoting, to use a word that everybody's using, back to screens, because it's the only place you could see music on TV.
Yeah.
Or you could see live music being performed. So whether it's delivered live or State of Music or the streams that have been happening through Isolate or what we've been doing at the Memo Music Hall, whatever. So the whole live streaming or streaming has just taken off. But I think that, the gig it's like a church. It's like the modern church.
Yeah, that's all I like. Yeah, it's one of my things to say.
And it's, there's nothing like being in a room full of people with
singing
a band
the
singing
same
the same song. There's just nothing like it.
No,
And everybody with their arms around each other,
Yeah.
That's the community. That's what's missing.
It's,
and you can't get that through
You're
TV.
going there, you go meet up with your friends, you have an exaltation through singing, and you walk away happy, and that's, it is. I agree. Couldn't say it better. So how important do you think, it is going to be for us to establish, obviously Channel 31's going through Dire Straits. I'm not sure if they exist. This is Monday. We don't know what's happening on Tuesday in this brave new world. Do you think there's room out there?
Well, I think that community television is as vital and as important as community radio to the whole cultural landscape.
Yes.
And and arts landscape, and I think that it's a tragedy that we're losing Channel 31.
Yeah.
Because
there's many
of a
music
lack of,
shows on Channel 31.
Well, there's lots. It's diverse, but it's not only music. It's everything that Channel 31 stands for, and we're losing that. But I think that the whole move to digital, there's so much bandwidth out there, and there's so much going on, and so many people doing so many things. But how do you find it?
Well, that's it.
That's the difficulty. Is how do you actually find it?
Channel it somehow.
You're either finding it through sites like Beat or the music, or you're being pointed at things. At opportunities to look at things through those mediums, but really,
and of course, this wonderful show that we're on.
And this wonderful show that we're on. But it's how people find these things. It's actually finding them is the difficulty. When Countdown was there, that was it.
Oh yes,
everybody
every Sunday night, the whole family sitting down. It's the only night of the week we didn't have to sit around the dining table. We were allowed to sit in front of the TV.
Well, I'm sure there are still families out there sitting down in front of the TV at 6 o'clock on a Friday night waiting for it to come on.
Oh, thank you so much, Peter.
Pleasure.
It's been a great seeing you again, and hopefully we'll be doing something very spectacular very soon.
I look forward to it, Susan. All the very best with Alex Rocks. I think it's a great initiative, and we need
very excited.
More live and more live streaming and more music.
Yeah.
More music.
More music. Everything louder than everything else.
Too true.
All right, thank you.
Matt joins me once again. How you going?
Very well. How are you, Tarina?
Yeah, not too bad. You had a bit of an eventful weekend. You got to see your first sort of live gig in a while?
I think Suzi was at the back saying the first time in 9 weeks.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, so it
feels longer.
Yeah. It feels like about 4 months or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was at Dogs Bar on Sunday night. They had 3 gigs booked. They had Dizzy playing, Dizzy, Kid and Steve Hadley playing on the Saturday night. And then Jack Howard and Nicky Del Rey playing on the Sunday for a dinner show, exclusive to 20 people in the main bar. And, just the two of them. It was a great show. Jack and Nicky always put on a good show no matter what band they play in. And, it was the first time I got to see music in a long time. It felt like a treat. I mean, going to a pub in itself was a treat, but a gig itself was just extra spoilt,
Yeah. How was that energy, though? We spoke to Jen and Marty, and they spoke about, from the Riff Raiders previously, and they'd spoke about how, it'd be a weird atmosphere sitting down, having a sit-down meal now and watching a band.
Yeah.
How did that feel? Obviously, you're still very thankful to get out there How was the energy?
Oh, guys, I think the energy was good. I think we've been so starved for entertainment, live entertainment. I think everyone's just happy to see something. But, sitting down, it was kind of like, oh, there's my regular spot. I stand with all the regulars like Bernie and Gigi and Jeff and Benny One Leg. So it was great to be back, but something was missing. But in this climate, it was certainly better than nothing,
It was nice to be able to go and do that. And it sold out pretty quickly, I heard.
I think it was gone in about a few hours, I think so.
Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't get the opportunity to go. Hopefully there'll be another one though.
Well, actually, they're back this weekend as well. I think Jack
Awesome.
and Nikki are back on Sunday and Dizzy again. Encore performances. So, and Horse and Where's the Largies will be on Friday night as well. So,
Yeah. Well, this might come out a little bit after they've played, but hopefully, if that's all successful, it'll be a regular thing. Depending on how we go with lockdown at the moment, it's looking a little bit.
Yeah, it's a bit up in the air. So
At the moment. And you mentioned we got a few venues that are opening as well.
Yeah, so Sarah by Johnny's opened on beautiful Blessington Street, opened last Thursday. Very small space, they're reserved to 10. So I think they're just going back to their normal hours, 7 days a week.
Yep.
And Misery Guts just around the corner from here, favourite haunt of mine, reopens this Thursday.
Yeah. Hopefully they can stay open as long as everyone does the right thing. And
yeah, I guess it's another testing time, so we'll see.
yeah, it is. I guess you don't know till you try.
Yeah, it's just day by day, and we can change like that. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can go forwards, not backwards. But I don't know.
Yeah, and we've got some exciting things happening at the Alex Theatre as well. Susie's got Alex Rocks happening, and we're about to start doing some live streaming here too. So that's exciting.
Yeah, the St Kilda House Band. What a way to start off with.
Yeah, definitely. That's all for this week. If you want to get in contact with us, send us an email at ideas@studioemedia.com.au. Thanks for watching. See you next time.